Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited to bring you this video out today. I've been working on this for a very long time and the results are absolutely amazing. Some of you might think it's totally weird, some of you might like it, some of you might don't. However, I thought I was overly impressed with the results, so I thought I really had to share this with you. So the idea is, guys, we are making today a beer from a malt loaf. For all of you who might not be aware, I don't know in different countries, but this is actually heavily, densely fruited malt loaf. And I will show you in this video how to get from this into this and onto that as a final result. The idea is, guys, come from a kvass, which is a Eastern European drink made with a rye bread that you then soak in water and create yourself a technically non-alcoholic beverage that on average should be between 1 and 2%. However, in this instance, we're making it into beer, so the percentage will vary between 4 and 6.5–7%, depending. Of course, your results will highly depend on the malt loaf that you're using and the amount of water you'll be using to determine the strength. And the results of this, guys, it's quite a pruny beer. It's very surprising, but I never thought we can actually achieve something so deep in flavor just from something like this. And I know there's totally like a weird way of doing this, but you know me, I like things weird and I like to experiment, and that was just amazing. So without further ado, guys, okay, we are going to be making 4 liters, okay, and for this we'll require 2 of the malt loaves, and they are 260 grams each, so we'll be using 2 of them, okay. So first thing we're going to do, okay, is get them opened up, and this is basically what that looks like. It's just a loaf that's got a lot of raisins and some other stuff in it, and a lot of molasses by the sound of it as well. You might think it's a bit as I said, a bit weird because Puli does have another additives in there, but to be fair, I don't care what's in it so long as it tastes good, and this actually did. So all we're gonna do, guys, as a first step is really simple. Just cut this up into the chunks. Nothing too specific, okay? So I've got them in little blocks like this. You can see it's very sticky, very doughy bread, if you can call it that. In that goes. Let me get the other one done. So okay, second one is cut, and in they go inside the pot. Okay, so as I said, guys, we are making approximately 4 liters, so they've gone in there. So next thing, all right, I've got some water. All you got to do, depending on the size of the pot you're using, guys, is to make sure they are submerged in water. Make sure you keep a track of the amount you're pouring in. And you kind of start seeing them soaking their water in right away. And I'm actually very amazed considering they're so sticky, but they are starting to expand really, really fast. So get this in. Okay, so this is what they look like. So next thing we're going to do, guys, is to put the hob on, okay? And the idea is, guys, we're bringing it to the boil. Nothing complicated. When you look at it, you think that looks like a dirty dishwater, and yes, it does. Unfortunately, it does. It looks very unappealing, but trust me. So guys, it's now boiled. You'll start seeing the bread pieces to come apart and look even worse than it did initially when we started. However, that's okay. Trust me, it is okay. Anyway, as I said, the water at the moment looks nothing like the color in here. And that's why, guys, the next step is now we're going to put this aside, put the lid on it, and we're going to leave this overnight. It's now halfway through the day, so for me, it's going to be picking it up next day. Trust me, it won't hurt it, so long as you put the lid on it so no flies or anything can get in it, that's that. And what it will give us, guys, is at the moment, when I tried that first in my process of testing and experimenting with that, it's got very little flavor. I overboiled it. At the moment, it just smells like brown bread. That's all it really smells like. I don't get any depth of taste or smell whatsoever in that. However, after we're going to put that and it's going to sit for a day, it seemed to create that extra, really, really massive difference of flavor. So I'm going to put the lid on it there and I shall see you tomorrow. So my brewing friends, this is day number 2 and our stuff been sitting here on the pot overnight. So if I take the lid off, we can see that kind of looks like a content overstew, which is rather unpleasant. However, on the positive note, our color of the liquid changed to a very, very, really dark brown. And this is exactly what we've been looking for. This is why I said the best thing is to leave this overnight. So next thing I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to strain the liquid, keep the liquid, of course, and discard the bread. So let me do that now. So we're now separated our sludge from our liquid, and because we disturbed it, it looks quite manky and unpleasant. However, guys, fear not, we'll get that solved. So next thing is, guys, okay, simple as we are gonna add some sugar, and I have here 1 cup of sugar. Don't forget, we have approximately 2 liters of water here. We did lose some, give or take, but that's not a problem. And we're going to have another 2 liters to be added on. So I've got 1 cup here. Again, as I mentioned before, guys, it's going to be really a personal preference. I've done one with slightly bit less water and quite a bit more sugar. Although it turned out to be really almost nectar flavor like, but it wasn't quite like beer. It was a little bit too sweet. However, because this is kind of a weird drink, you got to find your happy medium. So for me, it's going to be 4 liters, 2 of the loaves and 1 cup of sugar. So in it goes. Okay, and we're just going to dissolve the sugar. So basically, yes, going to bring this to the boil and make sure the sugar is fully dissolved. It looks like muddy water actually, which is somewhat a little bit weird. But hopefully you guys can see whilst it's doing this job here. When I've got my earlier batch, just to demonstrate to you whilst you can see through this without me disturbing this too much, okay? You can see that the sludgy stuff is kind of settling more to the bottom. Hopefully you get to see that, okay? And that's what will be happening. It is a kind of a long clearing process, okay? But we'll get there in the end. So this, guys, as easy as that. The sugar has dissolved, so we're going to turn it off now. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to let this cool there just for a little bit. I'm going to take the hob away, get the bucket in front of you, and I shall see you in a second. So we are ready to go. So it's cooled down ever so slightly. We still need it to be adequately warm because obviously it's better for yeast when we pitch it. So we've got our little brewing bucket here. I've got my remaining 2 liters of water to go in. I'm going to put this in first. And just like that, water is in. Okay, and our brown sludge is going in. There is some random bits of crap floating at the top, but again, don't worry about that. They will be filtered off afterwards. Okay, give it a mix up. And the color-wise, that's pretty much looks like when you brew a lager. Similar color, just a bit more, quite a bit more cloudier, okay? But that's understandable. So, we're in. Okay, let's take some liquid. See if that floats. Almost. It is basically like a very sugary water. Okay. So, it's a little bit hard to see with all the manking here. So I'm going to leave this there for a bit, I think. I think it's okay, 1.040 roughly, which is okay as a starting point. So guys, next thing, okay? I'm going to use a pinch of cider yeast. I'm using Mangrove Jack's M02. Okay, because we're only doing a 4 litre, I'm just going to sprinkle like a teaspoon is all that needs. You can actually let it naturally ferment, but it was just going to take you a really long while. Okay. If you've done this with the bread like a kvass, it'll be better, but okay. So yeast gone in. Just give it a mix up. And we are done for the moment. I will do the spoiler alert, guys. I will be adding on some hops to that later to give this that bitterness. Again, if I don't, it just ends up being like a weak wine, really sweet, but we do want bitterness in there. So, as I said, now the lid goes on. Okay, and it's going to go in one place for probably about 5 days. And then we'll see if we're gonna rack it off again. It depends how well that settles. It does depend a lot on the temperature. It's really, really uber cold outside, so in utility it's quite a bit chillier, so it might take a little longer. However, I will see you when the stuff started to separate, and yeah, I will see you then. Right guys, so a few days have passed and it is time to have a look and see what our mixture looks like. As you can see, this one is been settling down, so it's getting to pretty much correct consistency, or not consistency, and color in fact. So I would say this one only going to take a couple of days, but I didn't film this one. This one just was more sugary mixture. Okay, so that was breathing like a trooper. So as I do, right, I like to get things trying halfway through, and this is why when I start the recipe and when I finish the recipe, it's about half a liter difference, but as you do. Right, let's get that put in there. Okay, right. So as you can see, obviously it's still cloudy. We're still in the process of doing that. It's quite cloudy, so let's give that a go. It smells beer like, really. Okay, so at the moment, right, like when I mentioned, guys, the whole idea comes from the Eastern European kvass, and at the moment, guys, if you kind of didn't mind drinking this cloudy, it pretty much tastes like bread kvass, which is really refreshing. It is quite chilly, it's quite cold, because it's quite chilly in utility at the moment anyway, but it is got a very light fizz to that, and it is very refreshing. It's just all I can say about that. And it smells, it's still got this raisiny, sort of pruny smell to it, but it just, you can still taste that as well, but it is at the same time, it's really, really fresh. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, guys, now, because I was gonna add on some of the hops to get it a little bit bitter, because, you know, you can leave it as it is, that's absolutely fine. Put this in, strain this in a demi-john and let it sit, and then do this again, rack it again until you get clear liquid. It is kind of time consuming, and I appreciate, but you got to understand, because of what we put in it and what we're actually trying to make it from, it was a lot of additives and things there, and we do need to make sure it is clear. Again, you can add bentonite if you want to, but I myself personally stay away from that, because you have to keep mixing it, and I just don't have time for this. I like things simple. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm just going to get another demi-john and strain this off to the demi-john and add on some of my hops and leave it for another few days. So let me do this and I'll see you in a second. So guys, I just racked it into the demi-john again, and as you can see, because we disturbed it slightly, it looks like a dirty dishwater yet again. There is a lot of skank at the bottom. Again, I have left about an inch because I do not want to add on any more to this. It will just hinder the process, and who likes to wait for their brew for months and months anyway. So anyway, next step, guys, right? Hops. If you follow the channel, I've done a video because I've grown my own hops in the allotment. So harvest my own, and I showed you there how to dry your hops and how to store the hops. And the best way is to dry them and then store them in the vacuum sealer bag. I only need a couple because we're only doing a teeny weeny batch. Just going to open it up. Look at that, that's really well shriveled up. So, oh, the smell. Super great. And they're all a bit flattened, but that's all right. Okay. Get them in. Last time, if you watched, I did the mead and I've added on the hops. It made a huge difference to the flavor. Just a tiny bit makes a huge difference to the scent, to just the whole flavor and smell and the whole experience, really. So here we are. That will do it, I think. So all it is now, guys, just let it sit there. They will just start absorbing water anyway. And all I'm gonna do just to put the water in my airlock, in there goes, guys. And it honestly only will need about another 3 days. Of course, it's all temperature dependent. It will start to settle a bit more, and then you can rack it again, or you can bottle it. It depends. It depends heavily again on what you're using in terms of your malt loaf. The results are so different depending on, again, the water amount of sugar. So yeah, you've probably already seen the difference in the change in color between something that I did earlier. So anyway, so yes guys, as simple as that. And then put it away, forget about it for a couple of days. I shall see you then. So guys, few days have passed, and this is what our mixture looks like. Again, I disturbed them slightly because I just moved them about. However, as you can see guys, then this one again yet changed color a little bit more and gone darker, and this one is now ready to be racked again or bottled depending on your stage. I've been racking generally guys, to get the clear thing, you have to rack this about 4 times, okay, and then you have to bottle it. Obviously put 2 carbonation drops in there and let it sit to age for a bit to gain that sort of nice golden color. I've used the carbonation drops, and if you follow before, I've done some brewing. The ginger beer I added on the carbonation drops wasn't enough of carbonation in the end, so I ended up using the a fizzy machine. I forgot what it's called, but anyway, so yeah, in this instance I've added on a lot of carbonation drops, and by a lot I mean I've added on 4, because I find that this stuff, it popped at me, so it's just been nicer to be a little bit more fizzier. Anyway, as the point is guys, I wasn't going to keep showing you the time that you do this. You know how to rack your stuff, and then when you know that it gets to semi-clear stage guys, bottle it and let it to sit. Even in this one guys, there is still a bit of a sediment. You would, like with anything, when we did even the kitted beer, there is still always a tiny amount of sediment, unless you want to be continuously racking this, which frankly I just don't have a time to do so. So anyway, so let's get that in. Okay, right, so, and this is what we have. It kind of resembles the Coke. So there we have it. It looks pretty a-okay. So okay, let's give it a taste test. It's still got sweetness to it, but it loses kind of the pruniness, a lot of pruniness, if that makes sense. I've noticed that guys, if I did the experiment with a more sugar and slightly less water, you really end up with really sweet condensed taste or flavor, but in some instances you might not want to enjoy that. So if you kind of want to have this as a beer, then this proportion seems to be work kind of the best. Again, if you wanted a tad sweeter guys, rather than using the carbonation drops, use a little bit of sugar. And here obviously if you use your white sugar, it will give you carbonation. If you use a brown sugar, apparently you'll get a little bit more of flavor and actually sugarness to it, but less fizz, if that makes sense. So there we are. So it, all in all guys, it is a different one, but I find it's quite interesting. You know, I like to experiment, and I like to find things that are different, that taste different, because, you know, we're all brewing things here and there, and a lot of it is kind of the same, but it's nice to have something different. It's nice to try something different, because otherwise the things will be boring. But anyway, this is my thing anyway. I like to try things so you don't have to, or I like to experiment so you don't have to, then you can make your choices. So as a final thing guys, right, if you think that you might like this, then give it a go. I strongly suggest just do your proportions and maybe scale this down a little bit. Is again, because it might not be to everybody's taste, because it is a little bit sweet and kind of just a bit out there, but give it a go. I think I'm all up for just encouraging people to give something a try, because you just don't know what you might be missing anyway. So anyway guys, well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you do give it a go. Any questions, drop it down below or email me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.